Hello and welcome to this video created specifically for parents and carers to advise you on how you can best help your child as they approach their Year 11 exams. You might know about me because I'm an English teacher who makes online revision videos. However, what you probably won't know is that I've spent the past 2 years helping my own 2 children prepare for their GCSE exams, and this experience made me realise how useful it would be to create a guide for other parents and carers to do the same. The first thing to say is that every child is different, and there certainly isn't a one-size-fits-all approach to exam preparation. You are your child's best advocate. You know them better than anyone and are best placed to help them as they face this season in life. So watch this video and take from it what you think will work for you and your child. There are so many different contexts parents and carers are in, so it's important to take everything I say and adapt it to fit your child's unique circumstances. The aim for this guide is simple. By the time students get to their exams, we want them to be confident and ready to fulfill their potential, and there are 2 things we want to avoid at all costs. Firstly, we do not want your child to feel underprepared and therefore overwhelmed when the exams start. But equally, we do not want your child to feel overworked and therefore burnt out when the exams start. Both of these are what we're aiming to avoid, and I'm going to go through some important things in this video, but everything I go through in this video and a lot more can be found in my instant download guide for parents and carers, which is linked in the description, and I'll talk more about that at the end of the video too. Okay, so the first step to help your child prepare for their exams is to be informed about what they are doing. You need to find out information about each exam they will be sitting. This should include the exam boards, the specifications, the tiers, and even the dates. Now, you might already possess this information from open evenings, or it might be accessible on the school website. If your child sat mock exams already, most of this information should be found on their mock exam timetable. If not, you could use the next parents' evening to check through all of these details. Your child's school will provide this information near the exams, but it'll be incredibly useful to have it earlier in the year, and I recommend putting these details together in the December holidays or as soon after that as possible. From my own experience, my children's school did provide this information, but they sent it out I think in April, and you're going to want it before then. So to start with, you want to list all of the exam subjects your child is studying, and remember there will be some subjects your child takes at school that are not actually exam subjects. Some students might have compulsory PE but not be taking GCSE or BTEC PE. That's just an example. You might find other examples with social studies, religious education. So you need to know the actual exam subjects your child is studying and come up with a list, and it might look something like this. This is the example from my youngest child's situation. English language and literature, maths, science, history, photography, business studies, media studies. Then you need to know which exam board your child is on for each subject, and also the specification code for the exam they're taking, and this is really important. GCSEs are offered by several different exam boards, and each exam board provides its own specifications and assessments. Now, the likelihood is your child will be on different exam boards for different subjects, which can make it easy to make mistakes when finding resources. So make a list and keep referring back to it. Why? Because there are lots of differences between exam boards, and your child needs to be using relevant materials so they don't drift off track. I'm an English teacher, so I'll give you this example from English. If your child was studying Macbeth, well, if they're studying it on AQA, they're going to be asked 1 question on the text, and the assessment objectives are AO 1, 2, 3, and 4. If they're studying Macbeth on Edexcel, they'll be asked 2 questions on the text. The first question assesses AO 2, the second one assesses AO 1 and AO 3, and neither of the questions assesses AO 4 when it comes to Macbeth on Edexcel. So you need to know the exam board your child is on for each subject, and from that point on, every time you access something such as a past paper, an exam report, a mark scheme, a revision guide, a sample answer, you want to double check it's relevant to the exam board, the specification, and the tier your child is studying. Some subjects have higher and foundation tiers. Examples include maths, science, and modern foreign languages, and it's important to know which tier your child is studying. The content and length of exams differ between higher and foundation, so make sure you're familiar with what they'll be facing, and differences can include exam content and exam length. So here's an example list of what you might end up with. This is the list I made last year with my youngest son. And you can see that we've got each of the subjects, then the exam board and the specification code for each one. Now the next stage is optional, but I found it really helpful, and that is to look up the exam dates for each exam and put them together in a list and a calendar. In my guide I've linked all of the exam board links that list this information, and you'll end up with something like this. Again, this is an example from my son's GCSEs last year, so these were 2024 exam dates, but you can actually put these dates into a list and into a calendar, and I found it really useful with both of my sons to just be able to look at the calendar and visualize where were the busy periods, where were the gaps, what was coming up and when, where were the days off, where were the afternoon exams, the morning exams, the days when there was more than one exam. All of that can be really helpful for visualizing and thinking about the exam season, and putting those dates into the calendar is what helps with that. Now I must say, this process is open to human error, so when you do finally get your exam list from the school, check it against yours. Perhaps in the December holidays, it's a good idea to work on an endpoint plan. This involves mapping out all the different parts of each subject. So you start by breaking each subject down into its main component parts. For example, AQA English Literature consists of 5 components across 2 papers. That's Shakespeare, the 19th century novel, modern prose and drama, anthology poetry, and unseen poetry. AQA English Language consists of 10 questions across 2 papers. My son's media exam covered music videos, radio, TV shows, newspapers, and movie marketing. His GCSE History included Crime and Punishment, Anglo-Saxon and Norman, the American West, and Weimar Germany. So you basically break down the subject into all its component parts, and then your child can establish if anything has been missed, maybe due to school absence, or if your child really just didn't understand something. And this is what we find with every child. So yours might say, I missed the lessons on the first 2 anthology poems, or I just still do not understand how to produce a piece of creative writing. And in this scenario, covering these topics starting in December is a really good idea in the holidays. Now this isn't revising. Revising means going back over something you've already studied, but this is about filling in the gaps to make sure the foundations are solid. True revision will come later. So now comes the fun part. Ask your child to write out a list of all their exam subjects in rank order of how much they like them, with their favourite at the top all the way down to their least favourite. They should list every subject they have exams for, so for me it would look like this. Unsurprisingly, I suppose: English Literature, English Language, Business, Media, Biology, History, Maths, Physics, Chemistry, French. Now, if your child doesn't have any subject preferences, they can perhaps list in terms of which they're strongest at and which they're weakest at, based on mock exam grades or academic reports. Another option is to list in terms of importance for future choices. For example, as my eldest son wanted to study maths and physics at A level, these appeared at the top of his list of revision for GCSE. The next thing we're going to do is to pair these subjects up into revision sessions, taking one from the bottom and one from the top. No, it's not The Price is Right. And we're going to come up with a revision schedule. So session 1 would be something like French and English Literature, session 2 Chemistry and English Language, Physics and Business, Maths and Media, History and Biology. And this then just rotates. When your child finishes session 5, they're going to go back to session 1. Now, why do I recommend this? Well, every day when your child is pushing through the revision on a topic they don't like, they have the reward that once that's done, they get to work on something they do enjoy. And in fact, the very worst subjects are always followed by the very best. So for example, for me, pushing through that session on French is going to be difficult, but I can look forward to the reward of English literature after it. Without creating this sort of revision schedule, your child is likely to only revise the subjects they enjoy, or at the very least spend far longer on those subjects than the others, and this can lead to gaps in their preparation, especially in areas they might struggle with. Now, how long should each session be? Well, a lot of this depends on your child's personal capacity and attention span. When I studied for my GCSEs, for the 2 months leading up to the exams, I dedicated around 3 hours every day after school, 5 hours on a Saturday, and took Sundays off. And that helped me cover a lot of material, but it also brought me close to burnout, which I absolutely want to help you avoid with your child. So a good starting point might be 45-minute sessions followed by a 10-minute break, allowing for a decent amount of focused study whilst giving the brain a chance to reset before starting on the next topic. But what should your child actually be doing in these revision sessions? Well, I'll go through an example based on AQA English language. So the first thing in the Endpoint plan is that we've broken down the subject into its component parts. In English language, it's just a simple way to look at it is the 10 questions across the 2 papers. Then we're going to revise each question. So for example, one session might be based on paper 1 question 2. Your child might watch a couple of my videos on the question or read the chapter in my revision guide, and as they do this, they're going to take notes on what the question requires. Useful questions to answer would be, what is this question about? What are the relevant assessment objectives? How long approximately should you spend on the question? How should you approach the question? What are the common mistakes students make that you want to avoid? And this first set of notes can be detailed. They should be written in a way that makes sense to your child. That could be sentences and paragraphs, bullet points, or perhaps use of image and colour. But the important thing is your child must make these notes and not just download something from the internet or copy something from a textbook. So the notes must be personal to them and make sense to them. Now, their first set of notes might look something like this. So if we stick with AQA English Language Paper 1 Question 2, it might say these things here you can see on the screen. Next, and this bit is crucial, your child should attempt a past paper question in timed conditions. Now, AQA have published a number of past exam papers your child can use for practice. I've put the link in the description to this video and in the guide so you can go and have a look. At the time of making this video, the English language past papers available on the AQA site are June 2023, November 2022, June 2022, November 2021, November 2020, and the sample set. Now, for each of these, you need to download and print the question paper and the insert, and then you'll want to look at the mark scheme and exam report once the paper is complete. One of the great things with AQA is their mark schemes. In them, you'll see that questions 2, 3, 4 and 5 are broken into 4 different levels. Your child wants to be placed in the highest level possible for each question. In the mark schemes for each level on question 2, 3 and 4, the final column in the mark scheme is indicative content, and that's an idea of the standard required for each level. Let me give you an example based on the paper 1 from my English language guide. So the mark scheme looks a little bit like this. So you've got the level and the indicative content, and then a part of a sample answer here. So let's imagine your child has spent 10 minutes on the question, and next they want to look at the mark scheme, and starting at level 1 and moving up, they need to ask themselves which level indicative content is most similar to my own answer. If they think theirs fits into, let's say, level 2, they should then look at the level 3 answer and ask themselves, what does this indicative content answer do that mine does not? This indicative content is not intended to be a perfect or complete answer, and it's not meant to showcase specific content. It simply provides an idea of what's expected at this level. Next, they might want to have a go at rewriting the answer, seeing if they can improve it to push it up into the next level, or they might want to attempt the same question from a different paper and go through the same process again. Now, exam reports are incredibly helpful documents, and I recommend that parents and carers read them. They're usually very accessible. Each year, the exam board write a summary of what went well and what went poorly in the exams, and the patterns are often similar, so reading the exam reports is incredibly helpful. The advice for each one is based on that year's particular paper and gives specific examples. Now, eventually, the plan will be to condense those notes down into something shorter, perhaps something like this for AQA English Language Paper 2, and this is really the approach I recommend for every subject. So we've got the Endpoint plan where you break each subject down into its main component parts, going over the content using resources recommended by your child's school, taking notes and gradually condensing them down into cue cards, and using past papers, mark schemes and exam reports available online to practice and prepare. Now to finish, let me just take a few moments to explain what you're going to find in my guide if you choose to download it. So we've got an introduction very similar to the introduction of this video. I've got a section on what revision is and what it's not. And this is really important because a lot of people say, when should I start revising? And as I explained briefly in this video, but go into a lot more detail on in the guide, the key thing is that when we get to revision, we need to know all of the content. And the reality is that just often isn't the case. You know, missed lessons or things that were misunderstood or whatever. We have things we need to catch up on. So starting that, I think, in the December holidays is a good idea. I also have a long section about rereading the literature text in the February half term. I think that's a good idea too. Things you should do before revision begins, that's for you as the parent and carer. Things that you can do, I've gone through some of them in this video. Things your child should do before revision begins. Creating a revision timetable, a summary of the sort of timeline, and this is just a suggestion, lots of different contexts, and I go through the context with my own children in the guide and the context of your children. It will be different depending on the circumstances you're in, so this is not, everybody has to do the same thing. Then I have a really detailed section on how to revise AQA English language and how to revise AQA English literature, and then a briefer section on revising other subjects, but as I talk about the sort of approach, as I've already talked about in this video, is the same. There is a chapter on should your child use online revision resources, things to do when the exam season starts, and some frequently asked questions on how can I motivate my child to revise. So this is an instant download PDF at my website, and to thank you for watching this video, I've actually put an offer together. So at the moment, because my parent guide frequently refers to my English language and literature guide, I've put a bundle together. So if you wanted to buy the PDF of my language guide and my literature guide, that would cost £10. Well, at the moment, following the link in the description of this video, for £10 you can get the language guide, the literature guide and the parent guide. So you buy them using PayPal, and essentially what happens is the links will come up on your screen. You can click here and save the document. You'll also get emailed the links. You can read these on any devices, on a computer, iPad, phone, whatever it is, and they'll be accessible forever. So I hope you found this video useful. If you have any comments or questions, put them in the comment section and I will answer them. As I said, I've gone through this twice now with my own children, and these are some of the things that help, but the guide itself, which is over 60 pages, contains a lot more useful information. So if you can download a copy, that would be fantastic. Thanks for watching.